Hello, welcome to CS2A, Object-Oriented Programming Methodologies in C++. This is the spring 2026 quarter for Foothill College. My name is Manish Thagat, and I will be your instructor for this course. The course is accessible through Canvas, and you will find most of the information through the home page of this course. So let's get started. Let's look through that. I am the instructor for this course. The best way for us to communicate is via the discussion group of this course, which you'll find in this location on the left. You can also reach me through the inbox, Canvas inbox. A third way to reach me is through Foothill email, but the first two are preferred. This is a completely online course, even though we proceed at a pace of a lesson a week. There are no meeting times and there are no meeting locations or Zoom sessions to dial into. However, we will have office hours. They can be requested uh, ad hoc. But after the first week, we will create a regular weekly cadence of office hours where you can connect and ask questions. The grading for this course is predominantly programming assignments. As you'll see, 50% of your grade will come from doing the programming assignments. There are quizzes and participation activities that you will do just to reinforce the material that I will teach you. These can be retried multiple times, so you should be able to get full credit here. And also, we'll have a midterm halfway through the course and a final at the end. The dates for the midterm and the final are here. We are not really affected by any holidays this quarter, I believe. We do have a text for this course. It's a good idea to buy it, but it's also accessible online here. The general course description and catalog of student learning outcomes are here. But basically, there are 10 lessons that we will go through, divided by a midterm in halfway and a final at the end. We will start with an introduction to programming languages and computing and C++ specifically in how it differs from other languages. We'll start by looking at various data types, numeric types, um, and then we will move on to more interesting constructs of selection, if statements and switch statements, if you have heard of those. Then we'll talk about repetition, looping, and we will, after that, talk about modularity and defining methods. And then we'll have our midterm. After the midterm, we'll get into more interesting concept of arrays, object-oriented programming, and what that means. Uh, Advanced concepts of operator overloading. Uh, then we get into pointers and dynamic memory, a concept that's very specific to C++. C++ allows you to have very fine-grained control over memory. That's very powerful, but can also get you in trouble. So we will study that in detail. And then finally, we'll finish off with some algorithms and data structures, such as searching and sorting. Our grading scale is pretty standard of Foothill, and it's presented here. We will use a recommended IDE, which is CLion, which let's see if I can show it to you here, that basically looks like something like this, right? Let's go back to our previous tab. Um, and that is a recommended one, but feel free to use something else if you're comfortable with it. It is also possible just to use a terminal and a text editor if you really wanted to. We will not use any advanced concepts, but it's good to know an IDE and good to develop your skills on an IDE as you get to subsequent courses. It is always beneficial. Right? So, what will we do in this course, right? So, every week there'll be lesson material release, which will be textual. It'll be, and it will have a video of me going through the material and going through examples. You'll have to do some activities in form of quizzes and participation surveys. And then the most of the time you'll spend in working on the programming assignment, which will be the fun part. We don't really have an ability to accommodate late submissions. because the pace of the course and the number of students are such is that it becomes very hard to keep up with that. So do submit the assignments on time. You should have plenty of time to do them. Okay. Let's talk about use of AI. Now, we're learning some fundamental programming skills, right? As your skills develop and you get more advanced with C++ and programming, that would be a good thing to use. That'll be a good point to use, the things such as Claude and Gemini and ChatGPT to do agentic work and coding. But at this point, we are learning the fundamentals. So we need to put all of that stuff aside and not use AI. Uh, if we detect that your code is automatically generated, uh, at best you will get a 0 for your assignment. At worst, I will have to report you to the department. Right? So please do not use that. There'll be a time for that later in your career. Communication, we will use public forums and the discussion groups. Feel free to ask questions, feel free to answer other people's questions. I will be looking at all the answers and answering them myself as well. If something private in nature, do use the inbox to send a private message. Be careful in pasting your code in discussion groups and sharing your programming assignments. If you really do have a question that you want to ask, try to create a smaller sample to illustrate the issue you're having, and don't share your own programming assignment. There are good ways to ask questions, and there are not such good ways to ask questions. Good way to ask questions are saying that, hey, this is where I got stuck. These are the things that I tried, and this worked, this didn't work, and that's where I've gotten to. Can you please help move this forward? Right. That shows me that what you've tried and how you've been thinking about it. Bad ways to ask questions is, I don't know what to do, please help. Right. It doesn't show me that you put in any effort and doesn't give me any guidance into how I can help you best. The college has some resources for tutoring. Uh, let's talk about attendance. Since this is an online class, there is not the traditional sense of attending the course, but we do look at participation in terms of how often you log into Canvas and how active you've been. Have you been turning in assignments on time and quizzes on time and such? We are required to drop people who have stopped engaging. So you will be automatically dropped after about the third or fourth week if there has been limited evidence of you actually logging onto Canvas or submitting anything, right? And that's a requirement of the college, not something that I have created. If you have accommodations needs, please do reach out. There, Foothill does support that. Um, Programming is not a team sport. Please work on assignments by yourself, right? Please do not copy anyone else's assignments. It is very hard for us to tell when two people have been collaborating versus one person just copying from the other. So if you do find identical looking assignments, again, the same consequences as AI, where you will get a 0 and it will be reported to the department. So please don't do it. All right. So that is the course. It's some very exciting things to learn. A couple of things you can do right away is install the IDE. And the second thing you can do is go to the discussion group. One of the very first participating activities is to go to the participation discussion topic of posting first week introductions and post a little message about yourself. Right, this shows me that okay, you can get to this discussion group. Also introduce yourself to your classmates. I have just put up mine, so looking forward to meeting you all and working with you and teaching you C++. Thank you.